Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel English with Tanishka Ma'am. How are you all 10th? How is your preparation going on? So today we are starting with our poetry section, and the very first poem of our syllabus, of your syllabus, is Dust of Snow, of which we are going to talk about in today's class. So Dust of Snow is written by a very known poet, that is Robert Frost. Robert Frost, इनकी आपने और भी बहुत सारी पोएम पढ़ी हैं. You have already read a lot more poems from him, that is The Road Not Taken and Fire and Ice also he has written, and he has written many of the poems which are included in your curriculum, in your syllabus. The Fire and Ice and The Road Not Taken, which you have already studied in class 9th. So let's move forward. Let's read the poem together first. The way a crow shook down on me, the dust of snow from a hemlock tree. Now imagine the poet is standing beneath the hemlock tree, down the hemlock tree, and there is a crow who flies from its branches. And when he flies, the branches, the dust of snow, the flakes of snow shattered on him, falls upon our poet Robert Frost. Has given my heart a change of mood and saved some part of a day I had dreamed. Now he says that the crow, which has made the snowflakes fall upon him, fall upon the Robert Frost, had changed his mood. Now this is very small incidents which has changed Robert Frost's mood, change of mood, and saved some part. और जो उनके दिन का कुछ समय है, कुछ टाइम है, the time which he has, how the crow helped him to save that part of the day. So this is all about the poem. There are few main points in the poem, which is the very first thing which the poet want to tell us is that it talks about a tiny incident in nature. Tiny means small, जो छोटे छोटे किस्से होते हैं हमारी लाइफ में, जो कि हमारी लाइफ को प्रभावित करते हैं, इफेक्ट डालते हैं हमारी लाइफ में. A crow perched on a hemlock tree shakes off snow onto the poet. This is what is happening in the poem. जो crow है, when he flies from the branch of the tree, from the hemlock tree, the snowflakes fall on the poet. This little act of nature unexpectedly lifts the poet's spirit. Now this little act of nature has shifted the mood of the poet unexpectedly. The poet who was feeling low, the poet who was sad, feeling remorse, who was unhappy at that point of time in his day, he feels happier at once. Now he is happy with this small incidents in his day. तो इट रेस्क्यूज पार्ट ऑफ अ डे दैट ही हैड वेस्टेड इन सैडनेस, क्योंकि आधा दिन तो उसने पहले ही अपना सैडनेस में और रिमोर्स में, दुख में, रिग्रेट में उसने निकाल दिया है, बिता दिया है ना. तो अब वो कह रहा है कि इस छोटे से जिसने क्रो में, जिसमें कि एक क्रो ने क्या करा, उसके ऊपर स्नोफ्लेक्स, डस्ट ऑफ स्नो की बौछार कर दी है. तो इट रेस्क्यूज अ पार्ट ऑफ द डे. वो कह रहा है कि उसने मेरे दिन को बचा लिया. रेस्क्यू मीन्स टू सेव. Rescue means to save someone or something. So the Robert Frost is saying that the crow had saved his another part of the day, and the first part he has already wasted in the sadness. The poem teaches us that small moments in nature can leave a deep effect. So what does it show? It shows the healing power of nature and how it brings joy. Okay, how it brings joy to us. Next we will move on to the poetic devices of this poem, which is very important part. You have to study, you have to read all the poetic devices of all the poems. There are only 10 poems in your whole syllabus, in your curriculum. So one by one we will cover all of this. Okay, so in the very first line, the dust of snow. In the dust of snow, there is a poetic device used, that is alliteration. Alliteration को आप कैसे पहचानोगे? देखो, जहां पर भी आपको consonant sound का repetition नजर आए, है ना, whenever you are reading a line, the dust of snow, अब यहाँ पर you can feel dust of snow. The words Now let's study the poetic devices used in this poem, which is a very important part of the poem. Whenever you are reading or studying the poem, you have to be aware of the poetic devices used in the poem itself. Okay, so there was alliteration used in the very first line. The alliteration is used in the dust of snow. How will you recognize that there is alliteration used in the poem? In the line, firstly you will observe that the repetition of s is there, s sound in dust and snow. So there is the repetition of s sound creates a soft soothing effect, which creates soft and soothing effect. For example, in your another poem also you will see that some says the world will end in fire and some says it will end in ice. So ये क्या है? Repetition of S sound. Wherever you find the repetition of S sound, it is alliteration. Next is symbolism. Symbolism, the crow is a messenger of change and the hemlock tree represents the nature. Crow is the messenger of change and hemlock tree represents the nature. Okay. Next is imagery. Now what is imagery? Imagination. Now the poet is imagining that the dust of snow shook down on me, the dust of snow. He is imagining that the crow has shook down on him the dust of snow, the flakes of snow. The poet uses visual imagery to help the readers imagine the scene of snow falling from the tree. Then in contrast, how the contrast has been used in this poem? From a hemlock tree has given my heart. अब contrast क्या है यहाँ पर? Contrast ये है कि hemlock tree is a poisonous tree. ये एक जहरीला पेड़ होता है ना? It is a poisonous tree. So it is a symbol of negativity. Hemlock tree is the symbol of negativity and has given my heart. अब जो एक negativity का एक symbol है, क्योंकि poet himself was very sad at that day, तो जो नेगेटिविटी का एक सिंबल है उसने क्या करा? अ चेंज ऑफ मूड. उसने जो है पोएट के मूड को चेंज कर दिया. इट हैज टोटली शिफ्टेड द पोएट्स मूड फ्रॉम सैडनेस टू हैप्पीनेस. So there is a contrast between the poet's earlier sadness and a sudden joy brought by the small act of nature. Okay, next we have enjambment. What is enjambment? From a hemlock tree has given my heart. वो बोलता है. The sentence continues without a pause between two lines, creating a smooth flow. अब enjambment आप कैसे पहचाने? Whenever we are talking about the poem in which there is no punctuation mark, there is no comma, full stop, slash, okay, or semicolon, there is no punctuation mark, then in that case, in that poem, we have enjambment poetic device used. The way a crow shook down on me, there is no punctuation used. Only at the last of the poem, the full stop is there. Okay, only at the last. Only at the end of the poem, there is a mark of full stop, punctuation mark. Next here is inversion. In inversion, we can observe that the normal word order is changed. Robert Frost has used the inversion of the words in a sentence. He is saying that has given my heart a change of mood. Next, we will talk about the mood and message of the poem Dust of Snow. So let's first of all talk about the mood of the poem. So it is in the very first stanza, the poet was remorseful, he was sad, he was regretful at the beginning. The poet feels upset and remorseful because of some reason. But at the end, what happened? He felt cheerful and hopeful. The positivity came into his life because of a small incident by the nature. Cheerful and hopeful at the end. The sudden act of nature changes the poet's heart and brings joy and hope to his life. Next is reflective. Now the poet reflects to his own thoughts. The poet reflects on how small incidents, he observed very tiny incidents of the nature. He reflected on it and he says that the small incidents can bring a big change in our mood. It happens sometimes. For example, if one of my students gave me a rose one day, then that small incidents would made my day. So next we have the message. What are the message of the poem? It suggests that small events can change our life. Small events can change our life. Even a tiny and unexpected natural event can bring a big positive change in our life. Nature has the power to heal. We all know it very well that nature has a power to heal. Nature has a calming and healing effect on our mind and hearts. होता है ना, जब हम पहाड़ों में घूम के आते हैं तो हमारा माइंड एकदम फ्रेश होता है, हमें सब चीज़ें अच्छी लगने लगती है, लाइफ की छोटी छोटी इंसिडेंट्स भी हमें अच्छे लगने लगते हैं. And it teaches us, the poem also teaches us that we should never lose our hope. We should always be optimistic. No matter how bad we feel, good moments can turn our day around. इससे कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता कि हम कितना बुरा, कितना बेकार महसूस कर रहे हों, कितना ही खराब क्यों ना महसूस कर रहे हों, लेकिन एक छोटा सा इंसिडेंस भी हमारे दिन को बेहतर बना सकता है. Appreciate little moment of happiness. Now he says that one must, you and we must appreciate the little moments, the small moments of our life. We should notice and value the small beautiful moments. Someone has done something for us, we must observe it, we must appreciate it. So let's move on to the very important part which plays a very significant role in gaining the marks in the poem. So it is rhyming scheme. How will you identify the rhyming scheme of the poem? Through the sound. Okay, the first one, firstly you have to read the poem by itself. The way a crow shook down on me. The way a crow. Pay attention to the last word to the, and it's a sound. Okay, first is crow. आवाज किसकी आ रही है? O, है ना? Next is shook down on me. The sound is E. Then the dust of snow. Now these two sounds are matching with each other, and this one is matching with each other. Okay, crow, snow. So let's consider it as A. Okay, as here we have done A and A. Then me and tree, both are sounding with E. So we can consider it as B. Okay. So in next stanza, the rhyming scheme of first stanza is A, B, A, B. The rhyming scheme of first stanza is A, B, A, B. Next, we have second stanza. Let's read it out first. Has given my heart, art. Let's consider it C. Has given my heart a change of mood, ood, and saved some part of the day I had ruined, जो कि उसने खराब कर दिया था. A day I have ruined. Now here the sound is heart, C. इसको हम C कंसिडर कर लेते हैं क्योंकि ये एक अलग आवाज आई है, एक अलग साउंड हमें देखने को मिली है in this poem. So heart, ood, mood, again we will consider it as D. So and art, again it will be C, and rude, D. So it is, the rhyming scheme of second paragraph is C, D, C and D. Pattern is same but the voices are different. So in the very first stanza, the first and third line, this one, first and third line are matching, are rhyming with each other. Rhyming words होते हैं ना, shoe, to, snow, flow. Okay. The second and fourth line rhymes with each other. The second and fourth one line rhymes with each other. Me and tree. These are the rhyming words. You already have learned about the rhyming words. Next is the second stanza. The first and third line. Again, in second stanza also, first and third line are rhyming with each other, and second and fourth one is rhyming with each other. Let's move forward and look at the important words which are used in this poem. The very first is hemlock. Hemlock is a kind of poisonous tree. A type of evergreen tree with soft needles. उसमें छोटी-छोटी needles kind of structure होता है उसका. Okay, next is dust. Very small pieces of dry earth or dirt. But here in this poem, we are talking about the dust of snow. Next is heart. What does the heart symbolizes? Heart also contains the important meaning in itself, the seat of emotion and feelings. It talks about the emotion and the feelings which the poet was undergoing through. Next is mood, the person's emotional state or feeling. Shook tells to move or vibrate suddenly and slightly. Then snow. Snow tells us about the frozen white flakes that fall from the sky. These are the keywords which you must learn, because in answer, when you are writing the answer, you must not repeat the same words again and again. That is a snow. You can write this also, frozen white flakes that fall from the, instead of a snow you can write frozen white flakes. Okay. Next is change. What is the change in the poem? In the poet's mood, the act or progress of becoming different. Becoming different in the sense his mood was changed. Next is part, a small piece. Part refers to the time of the day which the crow has saved from being ruined. Portion of something. So the poem shows how a small unexpected moment in nature can bring a big change in poet's mood. It teaches us to notice the beauty around us and to find happiness in the little moments, in the small incidents of our life. Next, we have what we must learn from this poem. Key takeaways, the major takeaways which we should learn from the poem is that small act, big impact. For example, if you help one person daily, then it could have big impact on someone's life. Your small act of kindness can change someone's day. So a tiny act of nature, the crow shaking snow, changes the poet's mood completely. Then next is nature's healing power. Nature के पास क्या है? एक healing power है. It can heal the wounds, the mood. It can change the mood. Nature has the ability to heal sadness and bring joy instantly. It can bring the change in perspective. Our mood can change in a moment with something simple and very beautiful. नेक्स्ट इज अप्रिशिएट लिटिल थिंग्स. ऐसा होता है ना, हमें जब कोई बहुत प्यारी सी नेचर की कोई अच्छी सी चीज़ नज़र आ जाए, फॉर एग्जाम्पल अ बंच ऑफ a bouquet of rose, it can change our mood. Yes, then appreciate little things. We must appreciate little things, appreciate little efforts of others. Okay, we should notice and cherish the small beautiful moment in life. For example, the peacocking its feather, it is very beautiful when you see it. Then universal message. What is the main message of the poem? The poem teaches us a timeless lesson that is true for everyone and for every day. ये हमेशा ही सच रहने वाला है ना? And positivity in everyday life. One must feel positive and be optimistic and feel positive in his or her everyday life. Even on the saddest day, सबसे खराब और बेकार से बेकार ही दिन क्यों ना हो, there can be a moment that bring hope and happiness. उसमें भी एक क्षण भर, एक मोमेंट, एक छोटा सा पल ऐसा हो सकता है जो आपको आपका मूड चेंज कर देगा और खुशियों से आपका दिन जो है वो भर देगा. Next, we will talk about the themes. What are the major themes of the poem Dust of Snow? The very first is joy in small things. The poem shows how a small, simple and tiny act, tiny incidents of the nature changes the mood of poet and brings happiness to his life. Next is nature's kindness. Nature's kindness, nature even in a tiny way can touch our lives and improve our mood. Change in mood. The falling of snow changes the poet's mood from sadness to happiness instantly. Next is beauty in everyday moment. The poem highlights the beauty of ordinary everyday moments in life. एक ऐसे लाइफ के छोटे छोटे इंसिडेंट्स, डेली के कार्य, डेली के काम जो है हमारी लाइफ में एक बहुत अच्छा चेंज लेकर आ सकते हैं. नेक्स्ट इज वी मस्ट बी ग्रेटफुल. वी मस्ट शो ग्रेटिट्यूड. The poet feels grateful for the little act of nature that made a big difference. Here, यहाँ पर जो poet है, he is feeling grateful. He is thanking the nature for the change in his mood, for the little act of nature. Okay. Next is connection with nature. The people who used to do gardening can relate with this. They have a deep bond, have a connection with nature. The poem shows deep connection between humans and nature. है ना? कहीं आप शांति में बैठ जाओ, नेचर में जाकर, पार्क में, खुली हवा में, जहाँ पर ठंडी ठंडी हवा आ रही हो, आपका मूड एकदम फ्रेश हो जाएगा, ठीक है। एंड वेन एवर यू आर फीलिंग एग्जॉस्टेड, just go and sit around in open space, in greenery. Your mood will be refreshed instantly. Next is emotional healing. Next is emotional healing. Emotional healing, for example, how the poet tells us how the small touch of nature, the touching of the snowflakes from the tree, from the hemlock tree branch on him has changed his mood and filled his heart with emotional relief, with happiness, filled his heart with happiness and brings emotional relief. Next is hope and positivity. We must not lose our hopes and be positive and have a positive mindset in our life. The poem leaves us, जो last line है, आखिर का जो एक stanza है और जो आखिर की लाइनें हैं, that leaves us with a feeling of hope and positivity for the day ahead, which half of the day the poet has already wrote, but now he is talking about the rest of the day, which is saved by the small incident, by the small act of nature. So this was all the poem about. Be positive. You are going to gain 95 plus score in English in your board exams. Thank you for watching the video.